This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So yesterday we discussed about log or log information. So to start working with log information, we required log4j jar file. We required log4j jar file. So that we downloaded yesterday using PyJar files. So the PyJar files mainly which is using to work with Excel sheets kind of components. So in that PyJar files, this log4j is also there. So that's why we downloaded completely that PyJar files. Right. And we added that log4j to this project. We added this log4j to this project and see, and we required one more information. We required one more information is how to generate a log file. Before we start implementing logger, we need certain information like how to generate a log file and where you want to generate the log files. That means after program execution, in which folder it is generated, the log file, in which folder you are going to see the output, and what is the maximum capacity of the log4j, that means log file, and the timestamp for the log4j. So and every time you want a fresh file or you wanted to append on the old content, so like this you need to provide such kind of information in the form of properties file. Log4j jar file it is required, and plus we also need to provide certain kind of information in the form of properties file. Okay, so what you need to do is, so you need not to worry at all those things. There must be a file. Yeah, see, there is a file. So anyway, I'm going to share it to you guys. So what you need to do is you need to provide that log4j.properties file under src level. Under src, you need to provide that file log4j.properties file. So this is the information which we need to provide before we start implementing it. Now see, that log information you can generate in the different kind of modes like info mode, debug mode, warning mode, error mode. Like that, we have different kind of modes are there in the log4j. But for our automation point of view, people are going to prefer either info or debug mode. We don't require that error and warning, those kind of things, and it's not required. Next, every time you want to see the fresh file, or you need to write the content on the already existing file. Now see, for that, in the log4j, there is a property called log4j.appended.test1.append. This is the property. For this property, you need to set value is equal to false. So what it will do, every time it creates fresh file whenever it is trying to execute it. Next, and the second thing is where you want to generate the log file. Where you want to generate the log file. So you can see the log file under log. Under that there is a folder called, there is a file called application.log. So once the execution is completed, it is going to create a folder called log. Under that there is a file called application.log. It is going to generate for you. And this is the timestamp dd mm hours, minutes, seconds, and with this pattern the statements are going to generate. So the main goal of logger is whatever we are printing it, instead of showing on the console, those statements we are trying to print it in the a kind of like text file. And the maximum file capacity is 5000 KB. Suppose if it is crossed to 5000 KB, and it is going to generate another file for you. Okay. So this kind of information you need to provide before generating the log file. Okay. So now what we will do is I'll try to create log4j. I'll try to work on log4j. So I'm writing like log information, right? So first we should create an object for the logger. Logger dot logger dot logger dot. There is a method called get logger. See, normally we are using class name variable is equal to new class name. So that is the statement we are following while creating an object of the class. But there is another way is logger dot, there is a method called get logger. There is a method called get logger. Okay. Now see, logger is the class. Under that there is a method called get logger. That is the method. So once it is executed, it returns logger only. It returns logger only. Now see, one particular class method, once it is executed, if it returns the same class as the return type, then we will call that method as factory method. Now see, getLogger. GetLogger is the method. Once this method gets executed, it returns same logger only. Same logger only. So then we will call this getLogger as the factory method. One particular class method, once it is executed, if it returns the same class as the return type, then we'll call it as factory method. Now see, inside this getLogger, what you need to provide? So you need to provide this dev penoy logger. You need to provide this dev penoy logger. See, instead of this dev penoy logger, if you provide your name, that is also it will work, no problem. But we need to follow coding standards, right? So in general, people are giving the same thing. Okay. So otherwise, you can give your name also, it will work. GetLogger, it is accepting some argument in the form of string. Okay. Now see, this is the way to create an object for the logger. Okay. Next thing is you created an object. Now log dot, there is a method called what? Debug. And let's say I'm writing Selenium IDE. Log dot debug. Let's say whatever you are trying to print in the console, instead of that, you need to use this log dot debug. Why I'm using debug? Because we are generating in the form of debug mode. So because of this reason, we are using debug method. So the Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, these are all the statements it is going to print it in the log. So log dot debug, log dot debug WebDrive. Okay, right click, run as Java application. Now see, it is not showing any output in the console because we are writing in the logger. Now what you can do is just refresh your project. I told you where it is going to generate. It is going to generate under log, and there is a file called application.log. Now see, Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, some line and WebDriver, and see, this is the timestamp. So how can you check whether it is a old file or latest file based on the timestamp? Okay, and this is the dev penoy logger. This is also it will show. Okay, but empty string is not allowed. You have to provide some name. So this is the logger information. Let's say right, like log dot debug. Here you can mention, let's say QTP. Let us run the program. Now see, it will generate only QTP. What about the previous content? It is replaced. Okay. So every time it generates new information. So every time it creates a fresh log file. Okay. Every time it creates a fresh log file. So this is the way you need to work with logger. Yeah. Any doubts about this logger?
Hi, Srividya.
Yeah, Shivita, go ahead.
So in when you test some project or some test case when you're running,
Uh,
so suppose you're running some set of test case and you want to keep a logger for that, seeing that
mm,
how many steps, how it is
mm,
for like whether the test case is passed or failed. We are keeping some information like browser. We have opened the browser. We went to this page, and then it's
right,
clicked on this button like that. So
right.
if you're every time it's going and amending creating new one, then how do we keep track of this? I mean, like we can't amend something like that.
See,
I didn't get that.
instead of using system.out.println, there you should use something like log.debug. And so whatever the test cases you are trying to run, those information it will be captured in the form of log file. That's it. So here the main goal is instead of using system.out.println, capture in the log text file.
Okay.
Right. Now see, and suppose if your application is not working as per expectation, okay, so based on this log information that you can tell to them, okay, and while raising the bug, you can provide this log file and they can easily understand, and after that they will analyze the source code and they can fix it if it is a really valid bug. So
Okay.
while raising a bug, so what you are going to do, you will write the steps.
Mm-hmm.
What are the steps you performed it, and for the proof point of view, you need to attach a screenshot and the data on
Yeah.
which data it is you are seeing this issue. So for that we are capturing this. Right. Yeah. Any doubts?
Okay.
Sridhya. Srividya or
Yeah,
Kusuma
yeah,
or
carry on, carry on.
okay. Right. Okay. So let us talk about how to read and write the data to the Excel sheets. So how to write and how to read the data. See, in general, for Selenium point of view, maximum 90 to 95% people are uh, reading the data from the Excel sheet. Based on that scenario only, people are going to work, especially for Excel point of view. Writing to the Excel also, it's very, very rare people are going to work. So in this scenario, I'm going to show how to read and write the data to the Excel sheet. To work with Excel sheets, we required or we are working on pie jar files. So we need to add pie jar files to the Excel sheet, sorry, to the project. Okay, so what to do? So first let us add pie jar files to this project. Right click, go to properties, Java build path, add external jar. So this is the lib py folder, and under that it contains different jar files. So now see, copy all the jar files. Copy all the jar files. See, actually, we don't require all the jar files and all, but without confusing, what we can do is like even add all the jar files. And in the vovo xml lib folder, there is a folder. Inside that, there are two jar files are there. Add those two. And then there is a folder called lib folder. See, there is a jar file. There are some jar files which is related to common. So add those three common jar files. So we need to add all these jar files. So let me repeat once again. So what are all the jar files we need to add? So first add all py related things. Add all these jar files, and then vovo xml lib. Inside that there are two jar files, and then inside that there are lib folder. Okay, so inside this lib folder there are common related jar files are there. So add those three. Add those three. Okay. So now you added py related jar files. Now you added py related jar files. Okay. The next thing is, what is the next thing? How to work with Excel sheets. So what I'll do is, inside this, I'm trying to create one Excel sheet. Let's say I'm giving the name as data. Right. Username, password. username and password. Username and password. Let's say here I'm giving data like this. In general, you are maintaining the data like this, right? So this is the data. This is the data. Right. So this is the data which I am maintaining. So let me give the sheet name as demo. Let me give the sheet name as demo. Right. So where it is present? It is present under D Selenium underscore Kusuma, and that the file name is called data. So now what I'll do is, let me create a new package called data. Inside that, let me create a file called, file called Excel read. Now let us discuss about Excel read. How to read the information from the Excel. Okay. So now, first we need to create an object for the file, because we are working with the file, right? Excel file. So new file is equal to new file. First we should create an object for the file, and then data dot xlsx. It's a data file. So first we should create an object for the file class. So this file class is coming under Java IO package. Next, what is our goal? We need to read the data. When you want to read the data, we are using a class called file input stream. We are using a class called file input stream. Create an object for file input stream. For what? To read the data. Okay. Next, how to do the file input stream? FIS is equal to new file input stream, and see here we should pass this file. Here we should pass this file. Next is we need to create an object for the workbook. See, when you are working with Excel sheets, we'll call it as workbook. So first we should create an object for the workbook. So how to write? Workbook WB is equal to new. There is a class called XSF workbook. Whereas workbook is an interface. Workbook is an interface. Okay. Here on which file you are working? So you should point out here. So workbook. Change it to workbook. So which is Apache. So first we should create an object for the workbook. Actually, programmatically, workbook has an interface. And there is a class called XSF workbook. And we are creating an object for the XSF workbook and which is pointed by workbook reference. Next. Under workbook, it contains sheets. So we should create an object for the sheet. So WP like get sheet at. So right now, what is the sheet number which we are pointing? 0. 0 means what? First page. That means that demo page. On which index number you need to provide. So get sheet at what it returns? It returns a sheet. Import sheet org.apache.py.ss user model. So we should use this package. Okay. Now we created an object for the sheet also. Under sheet, it contains cells. So now what is my requirement is, first, how many number of rows are there in this sheet? Number of rows. Sh dot, there is a method called get last row number. So it is going to tell you the whatever it is the last row number. I think it is the 10th one. But internally, the index starts with 0. So it will give you 9th. The total number of rows is 9th. It will give. I mean, what is the last row number? 9. It will not give 10th. Why? Because the index starts with 0. Int rows. Number of rows is rows. Right click, run as Java application. the number of rows is 9. So what I can do, but user's perspective, it is a 10th, right? So add, because you are trying to get the last row number. Last row number it is giving as 9, but for number of rows is this rows plus 1. That means it is giving 10 rows. Okay. And number of columns. You know that how many? 2. Username and password. Number of rows. Sorry, number of columns. sh dot get row, because the first row is containing username and password, and then dot get cell, no, get last cell number. Under first row, what is the last number? Last cell number. Last cell number it is giving as 2. Int columns. Number of columns. So the number of columns is 2. The number of columns is 2. Let's say if I want to read a particular cell value, how to read? sh dot get row. Get row, let's say I'm reading 4th row, and then get cell. Let's say I'm reading get cell. So that means under 5th row, 2nd column, whatever the data is there, that you will get it. So to get that, get string cell value. Get string cell value. String data. Data. So now go and check. Row number 4 in this row. Password. Row number 4 means, because index starts with 0, right? So it is the 5th row. And the column number 1. So here password. So what is output? You will see password. So whenever you try to read a particular cell value, that cell value on which row it is there. So first you have to use row, under row the cell value. So this is, if it is 1 or 2 records, that is okay. We will write like this. But if there is 100 records, 1000 records are there, then how will you manage it? Okay. Let's say if I want to read the complete data from the Excel sheet, then I should use a loop for int I is equal to 0, I is less than or equal to not rows, then I plus plus. Next, for column, j is equal to 0, j is less than columns, and j plus plus. Right. sh dot get row, and this is for rows, and this is for columns. Get row of I, and then get cell, and then j, then get string, get string, so mention get string cell value. So get string cell value, it always returns a string value. So string data, data. Let's say I'm writing new data. Data. That's it. So first I is equal to 0. I is less than or equal to I is less than rows means I is 0 is less than 9. The condition is true, and now it will come inside. Inside that, inside again you have another loop. J is equal to 0. J is less than 2, and now you are getting first get row of 0, comma get row of 0 and 1. So first it will get the first row first cell, and similarly when it comes to like second cell, this loop is going to execute till the condition is false. So once the condition is false, now it will come out to the outer loop. It will come to the outer loop. So once you are in the inner loop, that inner loop is going to execute till the condition is failed. So first row 0, 1, 0, 2, and once it is done, then 1, 0, 1, 1, then 2, 0, 2, 1. Like that, the complete data you will get. Right click, run as. Run as Java application. Now see, the complete data you are getting it. The complete data you are getting it. Okay. So this is the way you need to read the data. So in the real time, once you read the data, the same data you need to pass it to the test case. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts? Hello?
No, no doubts.
Okay. Kusuma?
No doubt, sir. No doubt,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. So in the next class, I'll show you there is one library file we prepared it for Excel operations. So I'll explain how to use that file. And see, this concept why I'm explaining is, I think 2 months back, one of my student, she went for interview in India. There they asked this question: can you write the code for how to read the data from the Excel sheet? So before that time, whenever I'm explaining the Excel sheets, in general, I used to explain that that Selenium library file, whatever we prepared, and use that how to use that library file. That concept only I used to teach, but uh, I never faced in any interview how to read the data and how to write the data in the Excel point of view. Nobody asked such type of question. The first time, one of my students, when she went and they asked how to read the data from the Excel sheet, this code they are expecting it. And later she came to me and asked like how to read the data. But there is a library file, and using that library file, how to work with Excel operations, that we did. But in the interview point of view, they asked like this, then what to do? So from
Okay.
that time onwards, like I started explaining, and after explaining this concept, I'm showing how to use that Selenium and that Excel library file. Okay. So in the next class, I'll show you how to write the data to the Excel sheet and how to use that Excel library file. Okay. So
Okay.
using that library file, you can perform the operations. So there you need not to write any code like this. That file it will take care. Internally, when I want to read the data and all, internally it contains this kind of methods. But you need not to worry at all. So that library file, it is going to taken care for you, and simply it provides method like Selenium, like get, close, like that. This kind of methods, like in the Excel file, like how to read the data, how to write the data, number of rows, number of columns, and how to add a sheet and how to delete a sheet. So like that, it provides some kind of methods. And see, for Selenium point of view, maximum you are going to work with how to read the data, and for writing the data is also very rare. But we provided certain methods to work with Excel sheets easily. Okay. So how to use that library file, that I'll explain in the next class. Okay.